All right, guys, let us move on to the reproductive system. If you thought that the vocabulary in the digestive tract was fun, wait till you get through all the vocabulary in this. Yes. All right, let's go ahead and fill this out. So this first one is going to be testes. Produce sperm as well as the male sex hormones, and they are held within the sac, the external membranous skin-covered sac called the scrotum. Then we have the epididymis. This is a Y, epididymis, and this is where sperm mature, okay? We have the vas deferens, which can also be called the ductus. Ooh, it's a U. Deferens, where sperm are stored. Okay, so we've got the epididymis where they're going to be maturing, and then the sperm is stored in the vas deferens, and the smooth muscles that line it are what cause ejaculation for all the sperm to be released. And apparently it's not covered in the book. Actually, a bunch of these aren't covered in the book. Sperm from the ejaculatory ducts enter here, but it's also the common duct for sperm and urine. This is going to be the urethra. The seminal vesicles produce the majority of fluid that's found in semen. Produces fructose, which nourishes sperm. Fructose is a carbohydrate, if you recall. It is a monosaccharide, a simple sugar, and that is what is going to allow sperm to mature, okay? Then we finally have the prostate gland, which is described as a donut-shaped gland that surrounds the upper portion of the urethra just below the bladder. And it assists, it assists in making semen basic as far as the pH scale goes, okay? So let's see here if I can find, nope. Not, here it is. So the prostate gland, it's right here, okay? So if you hear about prostate cancer, this is happening in this gland. And sometimes as men age, they can just have an enlarged prostate. An enlarged prostate can cause problems with urination because of the way it puts pressure on the urethra, and then obviously with some sexual dysfunction as well. If we're looking at this, oh, you guys, I'm so sorry. I don't have a drink here to make it better. If we're looking at this, this is obviously a sideways view. This is showing a ureter, which has been cut, but this would extend back up to the kidney. So then we can look at the seminal vesicles, the ejaculatory duct, which is going to be in between here. I showed you the prostate. The bulbourethral gland, I'm not sure if you're going to go over that this semester, but it's there. Of course, this is the bladder. The bladder is this muscle-looking sac, which it is. Okay, the vas deferens, which is right here. This is, again, where the sperm is stored. It has smooth muscle. Notice that it leads up from the testes, where sperm is going to be created. Where's our epididymis? Does it show that in this? Yep. The epididymis is this part that surrounds the testes. Okay, so sperm produced, sperm matures, sperm stored, okay, and also then allows for ejaculation. Then of course we have the urethra, which is this open tube here, okay. What else we need to go over? The penis itself is made out of erectile tissues that allow for blood flow. Yeah, over here is a smaller kind of look at just the following the trail of actually everything that kind of feeds into the urethra is what this is handy to look at, because you've got the urinary bladder, but then you can also see where you're dealing with the vas deferens, and how all of this is going to feed up and through the urethra. Okay. All right. So when it comes to reproduction, I'll start by saying that there's lots of hormones involved, and those hormones tend to come from different places in the body, different glands, and each one has an effect on something else. So each hormone has an effect on something else in the body that causes that thing in the body to do a job. So you kind of have, in a way, you can almost think about it as like connecting the dots. This does this, which makes this go here, which makes that go there, and then that releases this hormone, and then that goes over here. That's kind of how the reproductive system works. And so there's definitely a lot of trying to remember the different hormones that are involved and which hormones do what, and which hormones do what in a male versus a female. Anyway, just kind of be prepared for the connect the dots / remember all the vocabulary experience when it comes to this. All right, so spermatogenesis, or the process of sperm formation. So spermatogenesis is going to generate 4 sperm cells. If we remember, guys, this is a process caused by meiosis. Remember that meiosis is going to give us 4 genetically unique haploid daughter cells. Okay, well, the daughter cells in men are sperm cells that result from this mitotic division. Happens in the seminiferous tubules. I spelled that wrong. It should be an E. Seminiferous tubules. Okay. We have something called Sertoli cells. Not we, men, you guys. Sertoli cells are going to be in these tubules, and they support and nourish the sperm and assist in sperm production. Actually, I'm going to make that into a colon. How's that? Okay. Then we have interstitial cells. Interstitial usually meaning in between. These interstitial cells are Leydig cells, and they are in between these tubules, and they secrete testosterone, which is the male reproductive hormone, in between tubules. Secrete. All right. So if I am looking at this microscopic image here that's been colored so that we can see what we're looking at. This is a look at the seminiferous tubules under microscope, where we can see both the Sertoli cells, which are going to help to nourish and support the sperm as well as assist in their production, and then the interstitial cells, which are going to secrete testosterone, which is required for this sperm production process to happen. Okay, and then this is, again, looking at meiosis. We have a mitotic dividing that happens in kind of the primary cell that's going to give rise to sperm, and then when the sperm creation is actually going to take place, we go through meiosis 1 and then of course meiosis 2, and here are our 4 haploid daughter cells. 4 haploid daughter cells. Again, see how one unit kind of feeds into the next. All right, male hormonal regulation is controlled by the hypothalamus. It secretes something. Oh my gosh, you guys, I can't talk. I can't say words. I'm combining words. I'm making up words that don't actually exist. And none of it's on purpose. It's not even an attempt to be creative. It's just being tired. Tired. Okay. Anyway, it's controlled by the hypothalamus, and it secretes gonadotrophin releasing hormone. Okay, and fortunately this is abbreviated GnRH, gonadotrophin releasing hormone. Okay, this hormone is going to stimulate, which stimulates, and the anterior release of other gonadotrophins. Okay, we doing all right? Okay, so this is one of those, this hormone was released here, and then it does this and makes this release over here. So we've got in the hypothalamus, we've got gonadotrophin releasing hormone. That hormone's released stimulates the anterior pituitary gland, which is going to release follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. Okay? Okay. One more time. Hypothalamus releases gonadotrophin releasing hormone. That hormone acts on the anterior pituitary gland, which will then release follicle stimulating hormone. And that hormone's job is to stimulate the Sertoli cells so that sperm can be produced, and also participates in making sure that sperm mature. And then it can also, and does also, release luteinizing hormone, which stimulates those Leydig cells so that testosterone is produced. And testosterone is going to make sure that spermatogenesis continues to happen. Okay, so it's going to make sure that more sperm get produced. Do I want to stop? I want to keep going, you guys. I'm going to keep going. All right. Female reproductive tract. Let's add in more vocabulary, shall we? So we have the ovaries here and here. Okay. The ovaries are where eggs and follicles are produced, and also the female hormones progesterone and estrogen. So unlike men who, so men, the results of meiosis are sperm, right? And all of those are going to get used. For women, the results of meiosis does not result in 4 eggs. And we'll kind of go over that. But first, let's continue with the anatomy part. So the oviduct is the duct to the uterus, and it is ciliated, meaning it has those little hair-like extensions. Ideally, fertilization should actually take place in the oviduct. But that happens here, okay? Then we have, let me erase this so I can show. So I showed you the ovaries over here. Then we have the oviduct, which are these tubes. Okay. And then we have something called the fimbriae, which is here. And these should catch the egg after ovulation. So again, we'll get into this part with the cycle, but usually mid-cycle for a woman, the ovaries release an egg, which should be caught or held onto by the fimbriae before it's released into the oviduct. Fimbriae also can engorge with blood, and during ovulation, it kind of sweeps everything out. Okay. Then we have the uterus itself, which is this right here. The uterus also really isn't a whole lot bigger than your fist under all normal circumstances / not being pregnant. Obviously, it's very muscular, and it contains a lining called the endometrium. The endometrium is an inner lining that has blood vessels running through it, okay? So it's got a vascular inner lining. And this is where an embryo would implant following fertilization. The endometrium, depending on where a woman is at in their cycle, it thickens and thins. And all of that thickening and thinning is determined by whether a woman is pregnant or gets pregnant or not, okay? So the body has ways to deal with both, and hormones, progesterone and estrogen especially, are the ones that are kind of going to help determine what's happening. If pregnancy is detected or if it's not, those can there's other hormones we'll go over too that we're going to decide if the body moves into menstruation or holds off on that because there's pregnancy. Okay, then we have the cervix. The cervix is this kind of layer that connects the uterus, that very internal muscular organ connects uterus to the more external genitalia, which is the vagina. So now if I'm looking at this, which is a cross section, we're looking at the side. So we're seeing the side of the uterus. And again, you'll notice that it does have an inner cavity. The lining of the endometrium is going to be in here. Let me adjust this a little bit. Okay, And then the cervix is just here. Okay. All right. Then I'm trying to make sure that I'm seeing all of this correctly. This I'm sure this is what you all want to do, but if you need to make these images bigger so that you can see them better, please do, because there's lots of little detailed anatomy in this. So this is the vagina, this being the opening. And again, here's the vagina and it meets the cervix here, okay? The cervix has to thin for childbirth to take place so that a baby can get through it. Otherwise, it should be an effective barrier. Okay, so I've already showed you here's the location of the vagina. The external opening is both for birth, because it's where baby comes out. I'm surprised still by how many guys don't know that that opening is also where the baby comes out. I found that men with sisters, especially older sisters, tend to know a little bit more, but it's not like women walk around with a detailed knowledge of all the male anatomy either. It's just amusing. Anyway, so both for opening and then also for intercourse is for opening, for birth and also for intercourse. The vagina has mucous membranes and also skin folds to allow for expansion, which is needed for both intercourse and for birth. This mucus that's secreted kind of tends to make the environment of the vagina more acidic. And if you remember, semen is going to be more basic. And again, these are on the pH scale. Okay, so now let's get down to, which one do I want to use for this? Neither really, because neither one is really going to show it. But basically, the vulva is going to include the clitoris and the labia, so kind of this area. Folds of skin includes so it's going to cover the vaginal opening. Opening. Okay. The clitoris itself is actually made out of the same type of erectile tissue that is found in the penis. It's erectile tissue. T-I-L-E. And so also like the erectile tissue and the penis, there are, well, and it's more concentrated, but there's a concentration of nerve endings. Okay. And that, in this lovely image, is right there. So in women, you'll notice the clitoris at the top, followed by a tiny, tiny, tiny opening for the urethra. And then you have the vagina, or the opening to the vagina. And then, of course, the anus. Okay? Lots of things. All right, I'm actually going to cut this lecture here, and I'm going to put up one more on this last half because it's kind of long and kind of intense. See you soon.